If you throw a $12 million teen movie into the cultural ocean back in like 2006, you generally expect it to sink.
Right. Yeah, that's usually exactly how it goes.
I mean, you figure it might bob around for a few weeks in theaters, maybe hit a few DVD shelves, and then just inevitably vanish into the abyss of forgotten pop culture. But imagine standing on the beach 20 years later, watching that exact same modest little movie wash ashore, and suddenly this multi-million-dollar corporate machine is just sprinting down the sand to retrieve it.
It is wild to think about.
It really is. So, okay, let's unpack this because the property that just washed up is Aquamarine. If you caught it back in the mid-2000s, you probably remember Emma Roberts, JoJo, and Sara Paxton dealing with, like, this sassy mermaid who gets stranded in a flooded Florida beach club pool.
Yeah, the one with the blue streaks in her hair.
Exactly. And on the surface, it looks like just another sparkly, ephemeral tween comedy. But if you look closely at the production logs, the economic reports, and casting databases we've built for you today, you'll see this massive logistical and financial engine currently working overtime to resurrect this property.
And not just as a small project, right?
No. As a major 2026 streaming tentpole for Disney Plus, we are going to figure out exactly how Hollywood engineering takes a forgotten 20-year-old script and transforms it into a foundational asset.
You know, to really grasp the scale of the machinery at work here, we have to look at the immense pressure the streaming industry is under right now. I mean, the major platforms are locked in this grueling arms race.
Right, the streaming wars.
Exactly. And subscriber acquisition costs, which is the actual amount of money a platform has to spend on marketing to convince you to sign up for 1 month. Those are astronomical right now.
Oh, wow. So they're spending a fortune just to get people in the door.
Precisely. Because of that, launching a brand new, untested intellectual property is an incredible financial risk. If it flops, I mean, they lose hundreds of millions. So the studios are heavily relying on established library titles.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, if a title already has built-in brand recognition, it drastically minimizes those marketing costs and mitigates the risk of failure right from day one.
Yeah.
They aren't just greenlighting some random new mermaid show. They are specifically leveraging the Aquamarine brand to capture a highly specific, very valuable demographic that already trusts the name.
I totally get that on a macro level, but let's look at the actual source material they are betting on here, because if you pull the raw numbers from 2006, Aquamarine wasn't exactly a juggernaut.
No, it really wasn't.
Right. It grossed a very modest $23 million worldwide against a $12 million budget. And on Rotten Tomatoes, it's sitting at a 53% critical score.
Ouch. Yeah, that's not great.
Exactly. Usually numbers like that mean a movie goes straight to the vault forever. So, like, what is the hidden metric here? Why did this specific movie survive the cultural filter when hundreds of other teen comedies from that era just evaporated?
Well, the hidden metric is audience retention. And you can actually see it in a specific industry tool called the Cinema Score.
Okay, what's that?
So when a movie comes out, critics review it, obviously. But Cinema Score actually polls the everyday audiences walking out of the theater on opening night. Critics gave Aquamarine a 53%. But the audiences gave it an A-, Cinema Score.
Wait, really? An A-?
Yeah. And in the industry, an A- is a massive indicator of long-term word-of-mouth potential. It tells the studio that the people who actually showed up didn't just like it, they deeply connected with it.
Wow.
And over the last 20 years, that initial connection has really galvanized into a massive cult status, particularly among Generation Z.
I actually noticed that in the cultural footprint we were tracking, pop star Chappell Roan actually cited Aquamarine as the direct inspiration for her 2022 music video for the song Casual.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, she literally pitched the concept to Teen Vogue by describing it as, and I quote, Aquamarine, but like gay.
That is so specific.
Right. That shows it's not just a movie people vaguely remember. It's a foundational aesthetic for an entire generation of young creators.
Which, brings us to the mechanism of why it resonated so deeply.
Yeah.
What's fascinating here is if you analyze the contemporary reviews from the few critics who actually understood what the film was doing, they praised it for subverting the usual teen movie tropes.
Because it wasn't just about the romance.
Exactly. Yes, there is a boy meets girl plot with the local lifeguard. But the film actively mocks superficial puppy love. The real emotional core was about these two best friends, Claire and Haley, risking everything to help a stranger.
Right, proving that true love actually exists in altruistic female friendship.
Yes, that emotional honesty is the anchor.
And it seems like the studio is, like, hyper aware of not messing with that anchor. The production databases show the 2026 Disney Plus pilot isn't just a generic cash grab where they slap the title on a totally unrelated script.
No, there's real continuity there.
Yeah, Susan Kartsonis, the producer who actually got the 2006 film made, is back producing this new series under her Resonant Entertainment banner. And Elizabeth Ellen Rosenbaum, who made her featured directorial debut with the original film, is officially a co-writer on the new pilot.
Keeping the original architects in the room is a really calculated risk mitigation strategy. It signals to the audience that the studio respects the original DNA of the property.
Absolutely.
But this creates a fascinating friction because they want to preserve the feeling of the 2006 movie, but the structural demands of a 104-minute theatrical feature are just entirely incompatible with a serialized streaming television show.
I was trying to conceptualize how they actually make that jump. To me, it feels like the difference between a match and a candle.
Yeah, I like that.
Thanks. Yeah, a movie is a match. It burns bright, fast, and urgently to cook a single meal, or in this case, to grant a single wish. But a television show is a candle. It has to burn slowly and sustain its environment for a very long time.
That is the perfect way to look at it.
Because the 2006 movie was definitely a match. You have a mermaid who washes ashore, fleeing an arranged marriage by her father, the Sea King. The two girls have exactly 3 days to help her prove true love exists.
Right, the ticking clock.
Yeah, and if they succeed, they get a wish to stop one of their moms from moving them to Australia. It's a highly compressed, external, ticking clock scenario. 3 days, get the guy, get the wish, save the friendship.
And you cannot stretch a 3-day ticking clock over 4 seasons of television.
No, it would be exhausting.
Exactly. A transactional wish-granting mechanism only lasts a few hours of screen time before the audience just taps out. So the writers have fundamentally changed the engine. According to the production logs, the 2026 pilot completely internalizes the conflict.
Oh, really? How so?
It centers on a teenager who discovers that her mother was a mermaid, and she spends a magical summer navigating her own half-mermaid identity.
Okay, wait, here's where it gets really interesting. Let me push back on that, though. If you remove the ticking clock of the 3-day deadline, and you remove the immediate external threat of the Sea King forcing an arranged marriage, don't you risk losing the exact urgency that made the original movie so propulsive and fun?
That's a fair point.
I mean, by internalizing the conflict into a slow burn identity journey, doesn't it fundamentally change the genre from a breezy summer comedy to a heavy, brooding teen drama?
It absolutely changes the genre. But, from a screenwriting perspective, serialized television actually requires that shift.
Really?
Yeah. If the magic is just a visitor who leaves after 3 days, the show just ends. By making the protagonist a half-mermaid, her dual identity is the sustainable conflict. She can't just grant a wish and go back to normal. She has to live with the psychological burden of 2 different worlds.
Oh, okay, I see.
And this is precisely why the studio brought in prestige television talent to guide this transition. They hired director Jesse Peretz, whose credits include GLOW, The Morning Show, and Girls.
That's quite a lineup.
It is. And the co-writer alongside Rosenbaum is Sara Watson, who created the acclaimed drama The Bold Type.
Wow, that is a serious roster. They aren't treating this like disposable Saturday morning programming at all. They're engineering a complex, character-driven drama.
They really are.
But that level of prestige writing and directing usually comes with a massive ballooning budget. And to build an expansive, magical coastal world that can sustain multiple seasons, you need a physical location that can actually accommodate it without bankrupting the studio.
You definitely can't shoot an ocean epic in a soundstage parking lot in Burbank.
Definitely not. Which brings us to the physical logistics. The production is officially setting up shop in North Carolina.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the choice of North Carolina is where creative ambition meets cold, hard, regional economics. Because when a studio plans a water-heavy series, the budget inflates so rapidly that they absolutely must find a location that essentially subsidizes the cost of production.
And North Carolina has history with this.
Yeah, it has been a major East Coast Hollywood hub since producer Dino De Laurentiis built a massive studio complex there in the 1980s. But the infrastructure alone isn't what draws a 2026 production.
No, it's the financial incentives. And the mechanics of how these state programs work are wild. North Carolina offers the Film and Entertainment Grant, which gives productions a massive 25% cash rebate on direct in-state expenditures.
That's huge.
It is. But let's clarify how that actually functions, because it's not just like a discount at the register.
Yeah.
If a studio spends $1 million on local lumber to build a set, local caterers to feed the crew, and local camera rentals, the state literally cuts them a check for $250,000 after an audit.
Wow.
Yeah, and the grant has a $31 million baseline per fiscal year, but it is functionally uncapped for big studio projects because the state's Secretary of Commerce can issue discretionary awards.
That changes the math entirely.
Completely. On top of that, the state charges minimal to zero fees for shooting on public beaches and parks. For a show that requires extensive coastline, free beaches fundamentally alter the financial viability of the pilot.
And that cash rebate dictates almost every logistical decision they make. The production is slated to shoot in August 2026, likely utilizing the Wilmington area and Cinespace Studios, which is the exact same infrastructure that house Dawson's Creek and One Tree Hill.
Oh, that makes total sense.
But the tax rebate is only one half of the economic equation. The other half is the local labor force. I know you were looking at the union data for the state.
I was, and I have to admit, I initially didn't understand why the specific union acronyms mattered so much. The state reports boast about having over 3,700 certified film professionals, including more than 800 IASC members, along with dozens of DGA and PGA members.
Right, looks like alphabet soup at first.
Exactly. At first glance, it's just alphabet soup. But then you realize what happens if a state doesn't have those local union members. If Disney shoots in a state without a local crew base, they have to fly hundreds of camera operators, grips, and lighting technicians out from Los Angeles.
Which is terribly expensive.
It's insane. They have to pay for their flights, put them up in hotels for months, and pay them daily food stipends known as per diems. By hiring local North Carolina union members, those travel and housing costs completely disappear. It saves the production millions of dollars before a single camera even rolls.
And that local expertise is going to be tested to its absolute limit on a show like this.
Because of the water.
Yes. We really need to talk about the physical reality of shooting on the water. It is arguably the most hostile environment for a film crew.
So they have the money and the crew, but water shoots are notoriously cursed. How do they actually pull off filming mermaids in the open ocean without the budget drowning? I was looking at the logistics for this, and I naively assumed you just throw a camera in a waterproof polycarbonate box, hand it to a guy in a wetsuit, and say action.
Oh, if only it were that simple.
Right. But looking at the historical nightmares of movies like Waterworld or Jaws, there is clearly something I am missing about the actual physics of shooting in the ocean.
What you're missing is the sheer destructive power of the environment.
Okay, tell me.
Let's start with the salt water itself.
Yeah.
Saltwater doesn't just rust metal over time, it is immediately corrosive. The salt crystals actually etch into the expensive glass of cinema lenses.
Wait, really? Just the mist?
Yes. A single errant splash can instantly ruin a $50,000 piece of equipment. To combat this, the production has to establish a highly specialized marine unit. You need marine coordinators to monitor tidal shifts, because if the tide goes out, your background continuity is totally ruined.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. You also need water safety supervisors, certified divers, and specialized support boats just to hold the lighting gear.
Man, that's intense. And the outline says they are heavily utilizing chroma key setups. But how does that even work practically? Setting up a giant green screen on a windy public beach sounds like you are just building a massive sail that's going to blow away.
It is an absolute nightmare for the grips. They have to anchor those massive green screens deep into the sand, constantly adjusting them to fight the wind shear, all while the natural lighting of the sun is constantly changing.
Sounds miserable.
But they have to do it, because the narrative focuses on a half-mermaid identity. This means the show requires flawless synergy between practical effects and digital visual effects.
Ah, so the tail is real.
Partly, yeah. The costume departments have to collaborate with creature effects houses months in advance to cast molds of the actors. They build water-resistant prosthetic silicone tails that weigh dozens of pounds.
Wow, and the actors have to actually swim in those.
Yes, naturally. Then, the VFX team uses those green screen setups on the beach to seamlessly blend the practical footage of the actor with digital deep-water environments in post-production.
It's essentially a military operation just to get a 30-second shot of a teenager swimming.
Pretty much.
But here's the ultimate bottleneck.
Yeah.
You can have the prestige writers, the million-dollar tax rebates, and the specialized marine units fighting the corrosive saltwater. But none of it matters. Literally zero if you don't find the exact right teenager to put in front of the lens.
Very true.
The entire multi-million-dollar corporate machine basically balances on the shoulders of the casting department.
And the casting process for a legacy property like this is an immense psychological and logistical undertaking.
Totally. To understand what that actually looks like on the ground, we dug into the Racting subreddit, specifically tracking the live threads for this pilot's open casting call. The project is operating under the working title Saltwater, and the moment it hit Actors Access, it caused an absolute frenzy.
I can imagine.
Oh, it's wild. You read through these comments and it really strips away the Hollywood glamour. You have 19 and 20-year-old actors openly strategizing, hoping they look young enough to pass for 15.
It's a tough industry.
And you see the intense human anxiety. One commenter was debating the struggle of potentially booking the role of a lifetime, but trying to figure out how they would relocate to North Carolina while caring for a sick family member back home. I mean, imagine the pressure these kids are under.
It's a lot to carry.
They aren't just trying to get a job. They are being asked to step into a legacy that Gen Z holds incredibly close to their hearts, knowing that if their on-screen chemistry isn't perfect, the whole multi-million-dollar ship goes down.
That pressure is exactly why Disney is not treating this like a standard open call where they just pick whoever has the best commercial look. The sources show they brought in Marjorie Simkin to lead the casting, alongside Orly Sidowitz.
Wait, Marjorie Simkin, the casting director who did Zero Dark 30 and Argo, they brought her in for a mermaid teen show.
They did?
That's nuts.
And that single detail is perhaps the most revealing insight we have. By hiring the casting director behind heavy CIA political thrillers, it proves that modern Disney views the teen demographic not as children, but as highly sophisticated viewers demanding prestige-level acting.
Wow, they really are taking this seriously.
They are looking for young actors with serious dramatic chops who can carry complex psychological arcs about identity, handle the grueling physical demands of a water shoot, and anchor a sprawling franchise that could run for years.
It is wild to see all these disparate pieces, the subreddit threads, the state commerce reports, the screenwriting structures, all snapping together to build this one single show. We have covered an incredible amount of ground today.
We really have.
We've tracked a literal mermaid from a flooded beach club pool in a 2006 movie all the way to a highly calculated 2026 streaming tentpole. We've seen how Gen Z nostalgia and A-minus cinema scores kept the IP alive, how the writers are fundamentally restructuring a 3-day ticking clock into a slow-burn marathon of self-discovery, and how North Carolina's massive tax rebates and union crews make the aquatic logistics financially survivable.
It serves as a perfect case study in modern Hollywood economics. A piece of media is never truly lost. It simply waits in the cultural ocean until the financial and logistical conditions are right for it to resurface.
So what does this all mean for the story itself? We always like to leave you with a final thought, something to really chew on after the deep dive is over. Think back to the original 2006 film. The entire dramatic thrust was Aquamarine defying her father, the Sea King, to prove that true love exists. And ultimately, she succeeds. She proves it. She wins her freedom, and she escapes her arranged marriage. It's a triumphant, happy ending. But if this new 2026 series centers on a half-mermaid teen whose mother is now estranged or mysteriously gone, does that imply that the Sea King's loveless arranged marriage society actually won out in the end?
Oh, wow. That is the dark underbelly of the new premise. If the mother is gone, what actually happened to the happily ever after they fought so hard for 20 years ago?
Right. Is our new teenage protagonist actually the living fallout of a fairy tale that ultimately failed? It's a surprisingly heavy thought for a Disney show, but it makes you wonder what really happened in the 2 decades since that bottle was first thrown into the ocean.
It really does.
Now, if you are watching us on YouTube, we have a question specifically for you. If you successfully helped a mermaid and were granted one single wish, what would you use it on? Let us know your wildest answers down in the comments. And please, hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe so you never miss a video.
And for you listening to the audio deep dive right now, please take a second to follow us on whatever platform you are currently using. We would also incredibly appreciate it if you could take just a moment to leave us a rating. It is the absolute best way to help us keep bringing you these deep dives.
Thank you so much for joining us. The next time you see a vintage DVD sitting on a thrift store shelf, remember it might just be waiting for the right moment to wash ashore and start an entire industry all over again. See you next time.